Michael Steele, let me play you more of State Representative Jasmine Crockett. And this is what she's asking Washington Democrats, the president, and the Democratic-controlled United States Senate to do.
I want him to hear our cries and hear how significant this is and how much we need him. So for me, it's going to be more so of an ask for him to push as hard as he can. This filibuster we have to do away with it, because once again, it's Republicans being allowed to be obstructionists.
So Michael Steele, this is now at President Biden's doorstep. What do you make of this newly aggressive move by Texas Democrats, in a vast minority there, but refusing to take this?
Would that aggression be a contagion within the Democratic Party? You'd be in a very different space right now. I just don't look. I understand the politics probably too well in many respects. What I don't understand is why there doesn't seem to be a response to minority rule. Mitch McConnell is acting as if he is still the Speaker or the Majority Leader of the Senate. Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans in the House feel that they've got, the margin is close enough that, he can de facto gum the works up there, use the system against itself. And that's what these legislators are doing in Texas. They're using the system against itself. They are saying, OK, we are willing to get on the road and fly to another part of the country to press the case for voting rights. So if I'm the Biden administration at this point, what I have to take from that in this speech tomorrow is a declaration to engage the Republicans on that ground and tell the American people why. Nothing else. There's not another legislative bill in the House or the Senate that can get passed and has the kind of support of the American people if you don't fundamentally deal with the right to vote. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you pass an infrastructure bill. It doesn't matter if you pass all these other bills, because back at home, right, those citizens are watching their constitutional right, not your constitutional right to have a pothole filled, but your constitutional right to have a vote stripped away systematically by the minority party. And you either are going to step up and push up against that and shut it down, or you're not. And that's what the Texas legislators, the Democratic legislators, are saying right now by this move to Washington is like, y'all need to shut this down now. We're doing our part.
Claire, you've been really clear on this show that there's nothing that will force the Democrats to abandon the filibuster because it's more than Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema who like it. I've respectfully pushed back that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are the kind of folks who won't win again. I mean, if these voter suppression laws are going to hit red state Democrats first and hardest, do you think the Democratic state representatives are changing the landscape at all on which the filibuster fight is being waged?
Well, let's just assume it is just Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. The question is, can Joe Biden change their minds? And I guarantee you there have been conversations, and I don't think their minds have been changed. You can look at this another way, Nicole, and I know this is painful for people to hear, but the minority in Texas is using a procedure to block what they're trying to do in Texas, just as the minority in the Senate is using a procedure to try to block what the Democrats are trying to do in Washington. Except it's a much closer body in Washington. It's 50-50. So you got to have everybody on the wagon. And we don't right now. Do I wish we did for filibuster reform, and particularly for protecting voting rights? But the other thing we got to talk about, and maybe you're planning on bringing this up next, is the Supreme Court. This decision on July 1st was awful for voting rights. The Supreme Court said loudly and clearly that the federal government really doesn't have any ability under the Constitution to stop these laws in these individual states. So we've got even a bigger problem than just Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. We've got a bunch of folks on the Supreme Court that are no longer friendly to voting rights enforcement in this country.
And Nick Corsinini, this is something you and I talked about on the day that that decision came down. It makes the we'll just let Mark Elias fight it strategy almost moot. I mean, I think that the Georgia case is the one state law that Merrick Garland has involved himself in. Justice Department has sued. And in the wake of the Supreme Court decision, I think what Claire is saying is those legal challenges become all the more difficult. Doesn't that argue even further for federal legislation?
Well, I think that's certainly what you're hearing from some voting rights groups and civil rights groups who have, been meeting with the White House, with the staff level, meeting with with Vice President Harris, and they view this as a truly existential threat, and that even if the Supreme Court did rule as it did in Brnovich and did make it harder for both states and the DOJ to sue and to, knock down restrictive voting legislation and signal to Congress as well that, if you do pass voting legislation at the federal level, it's going to probably have to come through us as well. That doesn't matter because the immediacy of the fight and the immediacy of the impact here is kind of what they're saying. And they're saying that we need immediate action now. We need federal voting legislation now that can, help protect the right to vote now in the upcoming elections. And then you can have a fight at the Supreme Court, when that time comes. And it kind of fits with how they viewed a lot of these restrictive voting laws kind of around the country as well. Democrats might have pointed to lawsuits as a way to fight back in Georgia early on, the first major battleground state to pass a massive overhaul of their electoral process. And, lawsuits came almost immediately. But throughout history, those voting rights lawsuits take years to finish and to work their way through courts until there's a resolution, whether, for or against a certain bill. So they were already looking at least a midterm election where there would be new voting laws, where voters would face greater barriers to access their ballot, where there could be new partisan power grabs. So I think the immediacy of everything, at least from a voting rights and a civil rights perspective, means that they just need this action now. And the court's certainly something you have to think about, but it's not the first thing.